Hello, I'm Dennis Galucki. Welcome to the 606th Imagine Greater Buffalo program with over 200 YouTube production programs on the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library YouTube channel and over 1,500 audio programs from Buffalo and Chautauqua at Internet Archive through the C-SAAHN audio network. Today's program is the sixth on our new ImagineLifelongLearning.com YouTube channel. Now, this program is created by the Center for the Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature, or C-SAAHN, as I like to pronounce the acronym, and ImagineLifelongLearning.com. Our lifelong learning speaker today is Paul Krupinski. Paul is the owner of Mr. K's Mobile Dome Planetarium. He has been a presenter at the Strasbourg Planetarium, at the Rochester Museum and Science Center, and is the planetarium teacher at the Maryvale Union Free School District Planetarium in Cheektowaga. The title of Paul's presentation is First Digital Light, Lifelong Learning at the Maryvale Planetarium. All right, Paul, this seems like an interesting story and life journey for you. How did this all come about, that you are where you are?
Well, thank you for having me, and good afternoon, Dennis. Yeah, it's been a very interesting journey, which started over 30 years ago. I specifically went to Buffalo State College to study science, and one main reason was because they had a planetarium in the science building, and here's an image of it. This planetarium in 1978 actually burned to the ground. Unfortunately, projector overheated. So this image you're looking at is from 1980 when it reopened under the title of the Ferguson Planetarium. And I went to school in the fall of '82. So that's where the journey begins. I'll do a brief overview, which leads us to what I'm doing currently at Maryvale, and that is teaching a Tuesday evening lifelong learning class in astronomy, space science, or anything dealing with the universe in general. So after I graduated from Buff State, I was lucky enough to intern, as you mentioned, the Strasbourg Planetarium at the Rochester Museum and Science Center for 1 year only, and I was under amazing people, a producer, an astronomer, a director, an expert in airbrushing. They made their own space art. And so I was able to learn from many, many really outstanding individuals under the Green Dome, as they call it, a huge public facility where actually I'm still teaching and presenting even today. I'm going there tomorrow, in fact, doing all the programs. In 1993, after the internship, I decided to purchase a portable planetarium. So as you see, there's a theme here. Anything with a dome, I seem to be under it, running it and operating it. So this, as you see, is a very tiny portable planetarium, and I've been doing this and still currently do this. So I take it to schools, libraries, took it to the Power Vista, beautiful view from the windows. This was a public event where families came in. We had a show schedule, and we just shared what was in the sky for that particular day and night. So here's a view of the inside. It's a very tiny little situation, very low tech. This was at Grand Island School, St. Stephen's. Again, just projecting visualizations to a ceiling. So with the Strasbourg Planetarium, it's a very gigantic public planetarium with hundreds of people could actually visit. Whereas my dome, it's designed to be one particular class, as the Maryvale School District Planetarium is really 25 seats, one class at a time. So here's the inside of the gigantic Strasbourg Planetarium, a humongous optical mechanical machine, the blue machine we call Carl, designed at the Carl Zeiss factory back in the 1960s. This photograph, based on what I'm seeing, was probably just past COVID, where we had limited seating. We retired Carl in 2018 on the 50th anniversary of the planetarium, and we went all digital as the Maryvale Planetarium is. So you can see Carl kind of on the left side but the visualizations on the dome is being created by digital technology, a huge database of space science, earth science technology. And again, all of that can be projected through projectors, cinema type projectors, to the ceiling at this particular planetarium, as well as Maryvale. So those who join me at the Maryvale Planetarium for Lifelong Learning, they really do have 21st century technology under a pretty old situation. Here's the hallway, if you will, of the Maryvale School District. This is in the middle school, which was the junior high school. So you can see it's literally a couple of hallways left and right, and you would walk right by the planetarium if you didn't know it was downstairs, hanging a dome hanging from the ceiling. So when I walk in, the staircase leads me to the basement. Kids will ask that, where are we? And they don't realize they just walked downstairs into the cellar of the Maryvale School District, where there was an unrepairable machine. So in the 1960s, this is post Sputnik. I mean, a lot of planetariums popped up in New York State and Pennsylvania because of the satellite that the Russians launched, Sputnik. And so planetariums, to kind of catch up with space science and technology, literally school districts and colleges and universities built planetariums all over the country, basically. And so in the 1960s, here's an old low-tech optical machine, nothing digital about it. With, as you see, if I zoom into the control panel, with just toggle switches and knobs to turn on the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets. But you know, it was very accurate for the 1960s, but it broke. And it was down. The planetarium was dark for 10 years, as a whole decade. And so no classes had a chance to visit, to learn at the planetarium at Maryvale until one day, I don't know how it came to be. I wish I had more information, but someone in the school district found out that I was in the planetarium business. Maybe they saw something on social media, and I was invited to Maryvale for a meeting. So it was interesting. The superintendent was at the meeting, some other individuals I didn't know, specifically a person who was running a lifelong learning community ed situation at Maryvale. He was the director, little I know. And I had mentioned, it was a one-liner. I said, I could have stars on the dome of Maryvale. And here's the Maryvale Planetarium. I said, I could have stars on that dome today. And the director of lifelong learning walked over and goes, what? How could you do that? Well, if you look at this picture in the center, I have my machine from my portable planetarium parked on a pedestal, and I just plugged it in, turned it on, and the dome is there. It's a 20-foot fiberglass dome, and I had stars, as I said, on the dome. So the lifelong learning director goes, well, we have to start running classes for adults. And that's how it all began. And before you know it, I was in their catalog. I was making programs. And when I do a program, it's a 2-week, what I call a short course. It runs on Tuesdays, 2 consecutive Tuesdays. You do not have to be there for both of them. It's up to you. You can come in for 1 week, and if you love it, great, continue. There's no obligation. But I make everything from scratch. I research the information. It's up to date. It's fresh. I try to make it very visual, very beautiful. Here's a course catalog I found from 2018, and you can see that the planetarium is listed, as well as music classes and youth classes, driver education. I mean, Maryvale had a very large lifelong learning, continuing education program for years and years and years, until, unfortunately, Mike Swords, who was the director, retired. And when he retired, the entire lifelong learning retired at Maryvale, unfortunately. However, we do keep the planetarium and the classes running, and that has happened since 2015. Maryvale, if you're a resident, does offer a discount. As you see here, if you're 55 and over, it's called a gold card, where admission to many different things, concerts, and as you see, musicals and shows, including the planetarium, is half price, which is kind of a cool thing. So the classes I teach, and in fact, I'm working on one right now for next week, Tuesday, runs from 7 to 9. So it's a 2-hour block of time. And it's 1 hour of content. For example, I'm working on a class, as I mentioned, for next week called Interstellar Visitors. And it is a look at the solar system, place we live. I'll do an overview of what's in the solar system, sun, planets, moons. But we've had some visitors in the solar system. One is still here that came from a different place, a different location in our galaxy. And they don't know where, but it's certainly here. We've seen it, photographed it. Telescopes have been eyeing it, trying to do science about it. They think it's a comet. They're not quite sure exactly what kind of comet, but this is the kind of thing I do. I try to keep things current. Sometimes I go back in time and do cultural planetarium situations and course content, etc. Here's a picture of the replacement to the broken analog machine. So Maryvale was kind enough to purchase a fully digital machine. So literally 21st century technology under a small dome that's been there since the mid 60s. It is nothing more than a computer where it says Digitarium and a projector. It's a Panasonic with a fisheye lens that literally fills the dome with images, visualizations. So I can teach simple things. I can teach anything about cosmology if I absolutely needed to. So again, as mentioned, we're open Tuesdays. There is a published schedule on the Maryvale website. You can see here the projector in action, literally with the light at the top, projecting an image to the ceiling. We have limited seating at the Maryvale Planetarium. There are 25 very comfortable chairs, very much like movie theater seats. So there is, again, a situation where pre-registration is probably required. I usually get about 10 to 12 regulars every week. I have one lady who has been with me for over 10 years and has actually attended every single class I have done. And I think I'm working on my 97th class of different topics over the past 10 years. So she's truly a lifelong learner. And she in fact made a comment that taking these classes was like having an entire college astronomy course spread out over many years. So she was very, very pleased and still is very pleased on the content that is being shared. Again, not to state it, but it's a projection system to the dome, very visual, very colorful. This is a color image of one projection of constellations and different imagery that I can do for any day of the year and years into the future. Kids love that. I can project a date and time onto the dome, and they look at the date 2026 and they ask, "Can we go forward in time?" And so I punch it into the year 20,000 AD. Oh, that's cool. Can we go back in time? So I can punch in 10,000 BC if I wanted to. So you can literally, with this machine, because it's fully digital, huge database, I can go forwards or backwards in time. And the sky projected, as you see here, controlled with either a remote control, like a TV remote, or an iPad, or even an Xbox controller, that sky will represent whatever date I plug in or I type into the computer. And it's that accurate. So if I wanted to go back to the birth of Christ, I could and see what the sky looked like at that moment in time, which to me is amazing technology.
Certainly is.
Indeed. So again, the Maryvale School District is the owner, of course, of the machine, of the entire system. This is their homepage. It's, as you see at the bottom, Maryvale Union Free School District.org. And this is their homepage. If you type in that URL, and I've highlighted with 2 arrows a little magnifying glass. If you typed in the word planetarium up there, such as I've done, like that, you'll get this page. So what you see is what you'll get when you type this in. And it says sign up for our winter spring 2025 6 Tuesday night classes. And that's a highlighted live link, and you click that, and you'll get the page that will be current for what I'm offering on those Tuesday evenings. So as you look at it, we can see some of the classes I've run for January, February. Currently running, or I just finished one called The Top 10 Stories of Astronomy, which was a hit because we went back to 2025. I did a deep search of what was interesting back in that year, and I came up with the top 10, and they absolutely loved it. It was a hit. So notice there's a contact name at the bottom. This lady is a employee in the office. She takes reservations for the classes because, again, there's only 25 seats. I could put a few extra chairs in to make it 30, which I had to do during the total solar eclipse event we had a couple of years ago, which tomorrow, by the way, is the 2-year anniversary of Monday, April 8th.
Nice.
Our total solar eclipse event, which unfortunately was not the best weather here, depending on where you were. But anyway, we do have the capability of increasing attendance to 30, but still, it's certainly a limited situation. So I'm encouraging anybody to contact Ms. Basehart to just pre-register. She knows the drill. She'll take a name, phone number, contact information. Here's an updated, closer look at the current classes in the future, starting next week. So interstellar visitors, I'm working on literally right now in my kitchen. Got to research it. It's got to be accurate. Got to be, very visual, and we try to, aim and please. As you see, we have Skywatchers Adventure Mexico coming up after that. And usually there's a pattern to the Tuesdays. It's usually 2 weeks, because it's a 2-week short course, 7 to 9. And then I usually have a week off, and then it comes back for another 2 weeks. It usually paces that way. It doesn't have to. I do have a conference coming up in May so that we break that pattern. So that's why I encourage people going to the Maryvale website to get the current dates as you see. And I'll be working on some new classes for the fall of 2026. There is a fee. So Maryvale is charging a pretty, nominal fee. It's $10 per session, or $20 for the 2 weeks. Students are certainly welcome, but I've only been getting adults lately, which is fine. The adults are really, really enjoying it. But if a grown-up has a student, a 5th grader or higher, it's $5 a session. They do not take credit cards. It's cash. You could just actually walk in theoretically after registering and just pay me, and then I can pay the administrator, Miss Basehart. So again, that's what I do. We have beautiful imagery. As I said, it's a visualization situation. These are real pictures that I've used. So you can learn anything about galaxies, how stars form. You can learn simple things like the solar system, which I'm working on again for next week, and how interstellar visitors come and visit for a while and then go away and are never ever seen again. You can come and visit and learn about the current missions. In this case, the Artemis 2 mission to the moon is going fine. They just did their close approach yesterday, and I was trying to follow it in detail. The 4 astronauts took time and shifts looking out the window. This is from the inside of what they're calling the Orion spacecraft. It's about the size of the dome at Maryvale. It's a very small machine. Holds 4 people, so it's a little larger than the Apollo capsules back in the 60s. But they're getting amazing views of the Earth. They had a solar eclipse yesterday. Have seen no images of that yet. It takes some time to download the imagery from the spacecraft to Earth. But they're doing well. They have been slingshotted around the moon. So actually right now they're heading home. And they should splash down if all goes well. Based on weather here on the planet, they should be here Friday early evening. But the weather at the Pacific area, they're going to usually land near San Diego. Not the best weather, so they might have to alter that. And I'm keeping tabs on what they're going to do. They might have to go farther out in the ocean, a little farther away from shore, but that's to be determined. It's too early, right? It's only today's Wednesday. or actually Tuesday, just too early to predict, that far into the future. So again, you can keep track of certain missions at the planetarium. This picture just released. I just found it on a favorite website of mine, spaceweather.com. They just released this gorgeous, beautiful Earth setting behind the moon, as seen from the eyes of the Orion spacecraft and the 4 astronauts, just as you see just yesterday. So that's what I do. You can join me. It's a fun way to learn. It's a way to keep current and just admire the beautiful universe, the planet we live on, and to learn more about our surroundings. That's it.
I think, Paul, that's wonderful. Those of us of a certain age had to reimagine our position in the world with those early 1960 photos that would come back and show this little hunk of blue and green and in this vast nothingness almost,
Right.
other than billions and billions beyond measure stars. So it's certainly not nothingness, but it just and the perspective is there. So it's almost like a physical reality, but it for many must be a spiritual reality. It invites pondering the question of who are we? How can you create something that's infinite? Who can, all of these questions, it's a mystery, literally beyond words that certainly we can comprehend, but the images help provoke that thought process.
Correct.
Is that your experience as well?
It is. Over the 10 years I've done this in Maryvale, they've just continued to return the people I have. I got a core group, about 10 of them, and they just can't get enough of it because they see their place within this gigantic universe. And I can take them beyond the Earth, through the solar system, beyond the Milky Way with the visualizations at Maryvale. And every time I do that, one person will say, boy, I feel really small. I feel tiny in this gigantic place. And this is just one galaxy, right? The Milky Way, in a universe that has at least 100 billion galaxies, so they say, and that's only an estimate. And it's only one universe, maybe, of a multiverse of universes. It's mind-boggling and very humbling, very, very true. And some of the astronauts, relating back to the Artemis 2 mission, they're getting that same feeling, being only about 250,000 miles from Earth, which is our backyard, right? The moon is our closest neighbor. They're having that same spiritual, humble feeling at that distance, seeing a rock, a gray rock that we see called the moon, but they're sensing and seeing colors that the natural eye can pick up, even from 4,000 miles. That was their distance, I think, yesterday. They're seeing, instead of gray and white, they're seeing hints of orange and green. So our eyes see things that no other camera, digital camera, can see. So they're certainly having that same type of awe-inspiring moment.
Wow. I for some reason, it just struck me when you said that the early visitors to Niagara Falls would talk of the sublime and the smallness of themselves next to this falls and experience, and you think, if that made you feel small, look what we're experiencing.
Look what we can do. And now digitally in the planetarium field, and years ago, we could just project the stars, as in the old machine that unfortunately broke in Maryvale. So now you with a database, you can go to the stars. I could go beyond the stars and into the vast universe. Again, all visually, all a visualization situation, but it makes you think. It makes how big is it? What do we know about it? And what's our place in it?
Well, the other thing you said that really got me thinking, where you can project both back and forward in time, and
Correct.
you know what you're going to have. Now,
Correct.
I think of the stability in a world of changes on a second by second, let alone day by day, let alone month by month
By month,
basis that seem to be going on that we live in. So I could see the value of thinking that there's stability. On the other hand, I bet there's a lot of chaos going out in the universe that when I hear of black holes and things of this sort, you just say, well,
yeah.
do we even grasp what's really going on at some level? I wonder, what's your thoughts?
On the grand scheme of the larger scale of the universe, they have an idea of what's going on, but it's just a theory. It's a guess. You know, there is evidence of an expanding universe. I mean, back in the 1920s, Edwin Hubble, famous astronomer, discovered the expanding universe, right? Everything seems to be moving away from each other. But in the 1990s, there was evidence of invisible material. They can't see it, but they're claiming this dark matter is taking that expansion and accelerating it. And is it true? They must be seeing something in the expansion and acceleration of the universe. And then another invisible situation with dark energy. They can't see it, but it's causing some effect on this expansion and acceleration of the galaxies and the universe itself. So chaotic, probably. Things changed since I went to Buffalo State, because back in the 1980s, there was the theory that I learned literally in astronomy class that as the universe expanded, due to gravity, things would slow down, stop, and then slowly go back to a contraction, called the Big Crunch, where a universe would, collapse and then re-expand. That theory is now in 2026, that's really gone. They've changed it to the Big Rip, is the phrase they use, where this expanding and accelerating universe would at some point in the future rip apart. And when I mentioned that, the kids, because I teach elementary and middle school kids at Maryvale, it just makes their minds, go wild. What will happen? What's the Earth going to do? Use your imagination.
Well, for years, you would hear the term the Big Bang Theory.
Correct. Yep.
Whatever, however you thought that was, it does at least, in my mind, explain expansion, that you're continuing to go. We're living in that initial moment in time when something goes like this, and humanity's always been living in that experience. And I guess on a personal level, I just think the invitation is for expansion of us as humans to be creative and do the same thing, keep trying to expand, which obviously is a segue into lifelong learning.
Exactly. Expand our knowledge. Keep seeking, information. And this is why I have that core group of 10 who just keep coming back over and over every class, every week, for years now. Again, it's been 10 years, almost 11 years. They can't get enough of it. And I keep trying to change the class. I try to keep upgrading it. I try to get different topics. Again, this is my 97th topic coming up next week. It's tough to keep, fresh info, but I try to freshen it, and they just keep wanting more and more and more. And that's what life is all about, right? Learn as much as you can, think about it, imagine it.
I'm glad you're saying this. Glad you're saying this, because I could just picture, all right, let's see if the universe looks like this on every April 7th, then I've got that story down. I don't have to think much more. I'll develop the next one. Although from a class standpoint, I'm just wondering, I like daytime things rather than evening things.
Right.
The older I get. Would Maryvale ever be open to a Saturday afternoon? Is that a possibility? And see if there's a market that way as well, or are you even available to do something like that?
I could be. I'd have to check with the higher ups, the administration, individuals who are in charge. The superintendent of Maryvale Schools is a planetarium fan. He was very kind 10 years ago when we only had, my little tiny portable machine. They were kind enough to look into the digital realm of the planetarium technology, and I really give Mr. Joe Downjoe credit for pursuing the new computer projection system that we have there. But as far as Saturdays, I do have some free Saturdays.
Just a thought. I mean,
yeah, it is a thought. That's a good idea, making it accessible.
And the reason I have this program with 4th and 8th graders, and the whole point was to engage students, kids, with
Right.
the parents and connect the two. And that was going through my mind. Now they could do that from 7 to 9, I suppose.
Right.
Walk in with their 4th grader or something like that.
And I've had that happen, but the 7 to 9 time frame is a little late for a 3rd grader or a 4th grader, right?
And that's part of the problem. Like
Right.
that,
They have to get up Wednesday morning for school.
it's like you have dinner and then you want to settle in. You're not
Right. Right.
to go out someplace.
Right.
Sports aside and everything else. So, anyways, I just wondered if you even had thought of those types of things.
I can certainly look into that.
Well, then we'll continue this discussion like that. Paul, this has been wonderful. It's fun to see somebody. When I finished up at the library earlier this year, we did our 600th program, and my host there, the communications director, said, the word lifelong learning was something she never heard years ago. Right. And now there isn't a day that goes by without hearing it. So it's really, my thought always has been that there was a Jefferson quote, as I recall. Here it is. If a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be. Thomas Jefferson. And, I thought, boy, that just strikes me as on this USA 250, Erie County 250. Right. It's not a bad underlying thought to hold all the pieces of the activities and whatnot that we're doing, certainly including your own. Sound appropriate?
Absolutely. And everybody should learn something new every day.
There you go.
I try to tell that to the students that I see at Maryvale. Learn something new. Read something new.
Yeah. Doesn't matter what.
Doesn't matter what. Doesn't have to be astronomy. Doesn't have to be space science. Just learn something new and continue to grow in mind and spirit.
Well, something finish up just with this reflection from your own. You probably would have been teaching earth science or something like that in a traditional school setting. But something within you said, no, there's another way of looking at this that interests me and fulfills me and is creative within the system and yet outside of the system. Correct. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Pardon me for interrupting. I'm bad at that. But yes, at Buff State, my degree path and career path should have been earth science because I have a bachelor's degree in what they called geosciences back in '82 and a master's in earth science education. So I have an educational background. So that would have been the career path. But I went to Buff State, as I mentioned earlier, because they had a planetarium on campus. And so I have a minor degree in astronomy that they offered at Buff State, and I have a master's in, as I mentioned, the earth science education with a concentration in planetarium program development. So you're right, I could have taught 9th graders back in the day, would have been earth science, regents or non-regents earth science, but decided to take that other career path of the planetarium educational career path. And I don't regret it. It's been a ball for 35 plus years, seeing so many different people, students, as young as 4-year-olds, all the way to high schoolers, and of course now the lifelong learning for the past 10 years at Maryvale. I don't regret the the career choice I have made for almost 4 decades.
And we're glad you made it. How's that?
And you're very kind.
All right, folks, thank you for watching this Imagine Greater Buffalo program on the ImagineLifelongLearning.com channel. Remember, the C-SAAHN audio for this and over 1,500 other ImagineLifelongLearning.com programs can be found at Internet Archive. That's the audio. Just search at Internet Archive for C-SAAHN, like you've seen the logo behind me, C-SAAHN. That's the code word, search word, keyword to put in. I pronounce it C-SAAHN. I'm Dennis Galucki. Be well and good day.